Okay. Now that we have 3 out of the 4 party members defined, I have decided that the last party member is going to be a human druid with the hermit background, and I figure that's going to throw a nice little mix into this particular party. It's not quite magic user and can supplant some of the healing that the cleric will have to deal with if I choose correctly. So let's get started. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to roll my... that's actually not the correct configuration for that particular dice. Die 26. No, that's correct. Drop 1. Yeah, okay. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what did I get? Once again, another... ooh. A nice little 6 for that last stat. Okay. 6, 12, 14, and 13. Alrighty. So we have... I'm going to move this over there and that there. The requirement for a druid is wisdom and constitution as the second highest score. So those should be the 2 scores that we go with. So I'm going to drag the 14 onto wisdom and one of the 13s onto constitution. Alright, so let's see. Let's go with the other 13 on dex. But 12 on intelligence, 11 on strength, and the 6 there. Alright, so this guy's going to be a human. So I'm going to drop the racial traits, and what you should see is all of the stats here should have increased by 1. And that's because humans get a +1 to all stats. So you can see in the chat box here that it applied a +1 to everything that's here. Now I'm going to drop the druid into there. And again, I'm going to make sure that I don't select these 2 because these 2 are going to be given to me for my skills. So I'm going to, seeing as I have no one who's good with perception right now, I'm going to select that. And I get 2 skills from the list, correct? So yeah, 2. And medicine I'm going to get, religion I'm going to get, and let's go with survival. That makes sense being a druid. Alright, and now I'm going to drop the hermit background. And what we should see is that religion and medicine, which are here and here, have also received their appropriate changes. Okay. So, what do I need for... well, let's see, I get 2 cantrips at first level and druidic casting. I get to choose 2 first level spells. And if you're not sure how many spells you actually get to prepare, those are slots. You can always check the spell casting link within your class, and it will tell you. So let's see. If you're a 3rd level, you have first 2 level 3 of those slots with a wisdom of 16. Your list of prepared spells can include 6 spells total, because 16 I believe is +3. Yeah, because 15 is +2. So in this case, it looks like I should be able to prepare wisdom modifier plus your druid level. So that would be a 3 in this case. Alright, so I will deal with the spell selection in a moment and start with... I suppose I should start with a name. So, one sec, I will pause the recording here, and then once I've selected a name, I will return. Alright, so I've selected Grow Fistbeard, and I figure that will apply quite well to his charisma. I mean, he may have a beard that's always gnarly and unkempt. Kind of looks like a fist and just otherwise ugly. which would explain how people treat him, or how he behaves around people, rather, because they kind of stand back. That'll be the kind of reaction we go for. We've also taken a moment and filled in the details here. So I've decided on male, age 21, 5'9", 198 pounds, and medium size. So I haven't chosen a picture or a token just yet. What I am going to do, though, is start populating the equipment with what's going on here, or with what he has. Now, he's going to get a scimitar, as well as any simple melee weapon, but I'm deciding whether I want to go with either shield or a simple weapon here. So, what can he use? Clubs, daggers, dart javelins, maces, quarterstaffs. So I will choose a quarterstaff for this one as a simple melee weapon, or a simple weapon. There we go. And I'm going to select a scimitar. He's proficient in it. And where I'm planning on basing this particular character, it kind of makes sense that he was able to find a scimitar. Essentially, he grew up near an old battlefield, so he was able to scavenge up a scimitar there. Now, he has intelligence and wisdom are his saving throws. And I think, yeah, I've got a pretty decent intelligence there, so. Okay, so I've got these two things taken care of. Leather armor, an explorer's pack, and a druidic focus. So when you see wording like this, it means they get all of the items that are here. Sometimes you will see leather armor or scale armor. That means, like we have up here, for example, a scimitar or any simple melee weapon. That means you choose either this or this. You don't get both of these. Sorry, I just bumped the microphone. So he gets leather armor, explorer's pack, and druidic focus. So let's pop up the armor list here. I'm going to drop leather armor into place. And druidic focus is most likely going to be under here. Arcane focus, druidic focus. So Spragle, mistletoe. We'll give him a totem. That'll be his focus. And I need an explorer's pack. That's also under here. And you'll note that unlike other classes, you don't get to choose a different pack. In the case of a druid, it's quite obvious they were an explorer, or they live out in the wood areas or isolated areas, so they're going to essentially have been exploring for quite a while. So that's going to be what's going on there. Now, I don't need... How many languages do I get? Common, one extra language of my choice. So, makes sense he will have Elvish for his language. Oops, that's under abilities. So, choice. Common, it looks like I get another choice from the Hermitage. Let's go with Halfling. And Elvish. Okay. And you can see here, looks like you got double proficiency. No, if you see something like that, it's okay to just simply go through and clear it out. You don't gain a double proficiency in a tool when you got a background that gives you a skill in something, as well as an item, as well as the class that you've chosen. So you don't necessarily get to gain a double proficiency in that. Some DMs might actually allow it, but I generally don't. Okay, so what else does he get here? Scroll case, stuff full of notes from your studies. So are there items under here for scroll cases? Case map or scroll. That'll do. Oops. And this will be notes. Okay. Notes from your studies or prayers. A winter blanket. A set of common clothes. I do not believe that there's a blanket. Nope, yep, there is. Although it's not a winter one in this case. And close. Is it common close? Okay. Common close and Herbalism Kit. That might be under tools, but let's just see. Yeah. And Herbalism Kit. There we go. Now, if you want to see the details of what a Herbalism Kit is, these would be the instruments that are included with that. But because, while an Explorer's Pack typically includes items that are not necessarily reusable, or sorry, not necessarily one-time use things or anything like that. Like they're always reusable. Hemp and rope you could potentially lose, but your mortar and pestle, if you lose that, you essentially are losing your whole herbalism kit. So in this case, it makes sense that a herbalism kit doesn't branch out into multiple items, much like an explorer's pack did, for example, because the kit includes everything that you would need to work with the herbalism skills and capabilities. And unlike other backgrounds, the hermit doesn't necessarily get a whole lot in the way of gold. Oops. And copper pieces, and he gets 5 gold. Okay. So we're almost ready to go. I still have to choose a portrait and actions and whatnot, but okay, that is that and that. So for spellcasting, we will start there. Now humans don't really get any racial traits. So if I go back to races and human, oops, I didn't want to close that, but well, I can always get back to that easily. Okay, so there are typically not any specific traits that a human can make use of in relation to abilities and skills and whatnot. And the background also doesn't necessarily provide traits. It can. In this case, we're getting a feature, but that's already been applied to our discovery feature here. And this is something that you're going to want to work out with the DM if you do decide to take a druid and use the hermit background. Because it's something that a DM can easily have wrapped up into your past, and that's how you might have become experienced enough to become an adventurer of some type. But at the same time, it also gives the DM the ability to wrap that as a subplot or story into an existing campaign or in between campaigns. So let's say this group goes through the whole Mines of Phandelver campaign and they take a bit of a relaxation. It's possible that the DM will throw out a story item related to that particular discovery. And things like that. And you can even make it that's part of your resting time is your continuous research into that discovery, and it may pop up later in your higher levels. Okay, so druidic spells. I get 2. I need to bring the class back up. Druid. Okay. And if you're ever curious as to how D&D portrays various creatures or various classes and races, this is what they typically do. Is they will typically include an image at the top of the category. All right, so I get 2 cantrips. So let's start with that. So cantrips. Actions. Useful for lighting. Mending's always good for repairing things, and shillelagh's usually pretty good as a club or a weapon. So if you want to do, I'm going to take shillelagh in this case. And poison. Poison spray. What's Druidcraft in this case? Okay. What What does Thorn Whip actually do? I'll take resistance. That could be useful. Oops. Alright, so once again, you can see that a new category here in the Actions tab called Cantrips, Spell Cantrips, has appeared. And 4. I'm going to choose, let's see, Entangle. Keep doing that. Alright, so that takes care of that. But I get to choose 3 of these, so Purify Food and Drink's always useful. And Thunder Wave is always useful, so got a little bit of combat here. Yeah, so there should be an effect here. Yep, there it is. Nope. Interesting. Let me see if I just linked that wrong. Yeah, I did. So let me deal with that just as well, just in case. Okay, good. All right. So that deals with the spells. Now I get wild shape capabilities at level 2, and I have to choose my druidic circle. Now I'm going to quickly go to the player's handbook and look up the gods. I believe it's under appendices. Yeah, gods of the multiverse. And I'm just looking for how to properly spell her name. Ovatar, Leaky Goddess of the Forest, so Unicorn's Head. Okay, so that'll be the deity. And his totem is going to actually be a unicorn's head. There we go, deity. I. Okay, and to reflect that, totem. I'm not always a fan as to how short these when the text box here is, because I knew I'd hit an extra double wide. It doesn't wrap around. Alright, so that is that. And I still need to link the abilities, which is Druidic. Okay, that's just secret language, that's the discovery, and spellcasting. So there's nothing here that I need to link into the actions yet. Now, there's something that I haven't done that I typically do in relation to all of the default characters, and that tends to fall under the Actions tab. So if you look here, did his weapons populate? Yes, the weapons populated. Okay, good. We have the racial trait, we have the fighter class trait, so in this case they get second wind, and then we have the various weapons. Here, in this case, we have the various spells. For a particular weapon like this, there's a once daily capability. So if you look at the description of a breath weapon, for example, you must do it after a short or long rest. And that means that once you rest, you're fine. And it's not sure why it's once per day. So let's just leave that at that. Damage resistance is daily. It's always there, so it's not something that expires. So there are some adjustments and tweaks that you're going to want to make to some of the effect capabilities in some of these. So Tabaxi, for instance, Cat's Claws gives you a climbing speed, but if you also do damage, it's a 1d4. and there's no damage effect here. So equal to 1d4 plus your strength modifier instead of bludgeoning. So we could modify this particular skill. Yep, okay, so it's already there, 1d4 slashing. And if we look at this, it is your strength modifier. So in theory, if I do that, that gives me that. I roll that, I get a 3. Although strength for this character is no bonus, so that applies correctly. And feline agility, and you can double your speed limit to the end of the turn. So really what this will be, oh, and you can't use it again until you move 0 feet on your turn. Okay, so this would be a perfect example of a metagaming kind of skill, in the sense that you'll have to tell your DM that you're going to use it, and then honor no movement until to allow you to regain it. So there'll have to be a bit of a tracking capability, and I may look into options that we can do there for that particular skill. But the rest of the skills, with the exception of sneak attack, are fairly straightforward. So to apply sneak attack, you would just literally click this after you've successfully hit a target that has one of your teammates flanking it or standing next to it. And the cleric, his actions, healing words, okay, those are fine. And his dwarven traits don't really apply. Okay, so I think we are good from that perspective. I just have to choose a portrait. So this is a human. And let's see, what have I got here for humans? Male, sort of a beard. Anything here with a beard? That's a cleric. There's a druid. That'll do. Oops. Keep forgetting you don't have to necessarily move it around. Now, I'm going to temporarily flip over to... So I still need to apply... Okay, I've got a token for the Dragonborn. I do not have a token for the Dwarf. The Tabaxi or the Druid. So 1 second. Let me apply... let's see... Okay, top down tokens for human. Are there any druids? Okay, don't think it makes sense to apply a greater undead. That doesn't make sense either, so human male. That'll work. Okay, let's drop you there. So you should see that I've just updated the token for the Druid. Let's see if I can find a Tabaxi Rogue. Nothing for that. Rogue, anything that looks roguish. Sorry, cattish. It's a halfling. Nothing really that looks roguish per se, but this round one goes fairly well with that particular character, so we'll go with that. And finally, the Dwarven Cleric. All right, I'm going to go with this one. Okay. Alright, so I finally got all the portraits, names, tokens dealt with. And I think we are pretty much ready to go. I just want to take a moment and see if there's any things that I should go over. But there is one thing I was going to get at. On the Classic Edition, there is an effects set released by Twohy that isn't yet available for Unity as far as I am aware at this point. So generally I would add that to this particular interface to short circuit some of the requirements of going through and trying to add specific effects to deal with certain things. Like, for example, he would put them under the spells group, and the ability to ready an action, for example, he's already got an effect here or an ability that you just choose that and you drop it on all of your characters. But there are a couple of categories of skills or abilities that every character will have, and what I'm going to do is quickly recreate those in Unity. But before I can do that, I'm just going to quickly load up the classic one and go through and manually recreate them here. So I'm going to pause recording, and then when I come back, I will show you how to go through and create those particular actions and whatnot for use. Okay, so Unity currently doesn't have the ability to add an extra item onto an action page that isn't already defined. You can add an effect to an existing ability, but you can't yet add another item to it. Excuse me, or action rather. So I will circle back to that once Unity has added that capability into the program. And this completes the character creation part of the tutorial. And now I have to do some final DM specific setup. So I'm going to record that next. And then we should be able to theoretically start dealing with actually getting the example campaign running through so that we can see how the players are going to have to deal with certain situations and deal with certain effects. Okay, so that will be the end of the character creation tutorial, and I will see you in the next video.